is going on, everybody, man? And I know that I'm not the only one that has reread this chapter several times. I know that I'm not the only one who has gone back to that final panel while listening to some epic music. There was one particular point in time where I went back and I listened to Luffy Moko while I got on like the build up to that final panel, and then once the final panel hit and he said it's so nasty, man. Zoro, Juro, and Sangoro. But the very simple fact that not only was that a phenomenal way to end the chapter, but the build up to that moment. And honestly, the build-up coming on from several different chapters beforehand, and I feel like it was like meant to be. This morning I was rereading the arc, and because of that, the impact this chapter had was like double fold whenever I actually managed to get back home and read the chapter. So it was like, man, dude, what an amazing chapter! So many great moments. Freaking Toko, and whenever she was pounding on Yasuma, she wasn't able to cry, finding out the truth behind the smile fruits and whatnot, man. It was just such an amazing chapter. And I've been thinking about it all day, bro. Like, man, and then there was some of your comments. Because I was like, man, for anybody who wants to leave either comment or question down in the comment section, I'm going to pick like 2 or 3, I ended up picking 5 that I got earlier on in the day. So I apologize if I didn't get yours, or if I didn't see yours. But I picked these right here because whenever I saw them, some of them, I wanted to show my appreciation for the comment and how that comment made me appreciate the chapter even more than I already did. And some other ones with some questions that I thought would be cool to answer. But yeah, man, Sangoro, Zoro, Juro greatness at the end. That build-up right there was very reminiscent to the build-up whenever Luffy punches the Celestial Dragon, because it's like, you know the consequences that are coming, you know what's gonna happen if this goes down, especially. And what I love so much about the way that Oda structured this chapter is because he was showing us who's watching this. Queen is watching this with the king and with Hyogo to the Flower. You know, he's showing us the entire country, but most importantly, he was showing us the big boss. He was showing us King Kaido's chilling up there in Onigashima, watching all this go down. You know, he made sure to show us that he was watching this. So with all this still being broadcasted, Zoro, Juro, and Sangoro are about to go up into Lake Swimwear and go bananas and bonkers in the next chapter. And do y'all think Kaido's not going to do anything about it? Like, it's going to be nasty. Oh my, dude. And then with the build-up coming in from the last couple of chapters, we were wondering why Sanji and Zoro were the ones that were mainly with Yasu, especially Zoro, but Sanji as well. So the fact that they were the ones to protect Toko there at the end, because we know Sanji's connection with Toko just based off the Komurasaki chapters, and then Zoro's connection with Toko as well, based off of his version of the Komurasaki chapters as well. It's like you had Sanji admiring Komurasaki and wanting to get close to her and whatnot, but then through that he saw the connection between those two characters, and of course we found out later on the line whenever he met Tonoyasu, and so they built a connection there, and Zoro did with Tonoyasu, and later on Komurasaki and Toko as well. So they both got it from different standpoints, which is really, really dope from Oda to structure it in that way, because whenever it actually happened, you're like, he was building up to this. He was building up to this, man. But the emotional build-up, and Orochi as an insane heel. Truly, truly a master heel, man. I mean, I say this countless times on the channel, but whenever I actually don't like a villain or an antagonist in a series, it's huge, because those are usually my favorite characters in a series. They really, really are, because they're usually the most interesting, have the most interesting abilities, have the best dialogue. Like, they usually spit fire, and I always enjoy people spit fire. So usually I really look forward to seeing what a character like that has in store. And I was really fascinated with Orochi after chapter, I believe it was 929, whenever Orochi just proceeded to headshot one of the CP9 members. I mean, of course, they didn't kill him, but the fact that he went through the act of shooting a CP0 member was huge. I was like, yo, this guy really doesn't care. I mean, he has Kaido backing him, so I don't blame him, but still. They call this man a coward, and even though he kind of is, he kind of isn't as well, because if he did something like this, broadcasting to everyone on Wano, at the very least, we can say, even though he is a coward, he tries to show everyone that he isn't. And, like, I'm not gonna lie, he definitely has showcased some savagery. Especially with the way he was spitting just absolute nonsense at somebody who's already dead. And then he was going over there to kill Toko still. And you just see all that, and it makes you so mad. After the fact, that you see Komurosaki crying to Zoro, telling him, like, yo, if this isn't Hell Zoro, then what is it? You tell me, dog. And you see the tears from Zoro's perspective. I mean, the panel structure, just the way the paneling was done, it was fantastic. The perspective shots were great. And the following panel, where you see Zoro looking at Komurosaki, the following panel is a heated Zoro. And then later on chapter, we get that with Sanji too, whenever they're talking about the food. And that portion as well. We'll get to that in a sec. But the build-up through there, man. And it just continued to make you want to really, I mean, it made me want to punch Orochi so bad, bro. Like, I really wanted Zoro to Shishi Sonson him back into the Flagnards. I really, really did. Or Sanji to come in with a Konkaser, or Frankie to come in, man, and bring out the General Frankie and just annihilate him. My man Brook to go up in like Swimmer, or Nami, or Robin. At that point, I just wanted somebody to pwn this, man. You feel me? But, yeah, man, I just have so much respect for Oda to have written this chapter the way he did, because with all the stuff that we had gotten and the journey we've gotten with these characters, whenever all this actually started going down, it hurt so much. Those panels with Toko, man. Those panels with Toko, after figuring out the story behind the smile that Komurosaki was telling them. And then, of course, what Shinobu was saying as well. But, man, dude, just finding out the truth behind the smile fruit and how far this really goes back. And then you have like a double thing in your head. One side, you're appreciating Oda as a writer for foreshadowing this back all the way back in Sabaody. And the other side, you hate like and I love Doflamingo, man. But after I read that, they were all sadistic bastards. Caesar, Kaido, and Dofi. And I'm like, man, dude. And the fact that they proceeded to call it smiles, like, who does that? Who does that? You feel me? Insanity, man. And just those like middle chapter, or middle a couple of pages right there in the middle were absolutely fantastic, man. Let me go back and go through them as well, bro. I mean, look at this man Orochi laughing, saying, yes, everyone, send him off to the afterlife with your laughter. This is the Wano country, the bright and cheerful Wano country. One might even mistake it as heaven here. And it's like, who says something like that, bro? And then Luffy gets mad too, man. He's like, nobody should laugh when someone dies. And it's like, we as readers are looking at it from the perspective of the people of Ebisu Town. Toko, as his daughter, knowing how much he cared about her. Knowing how much we know that he cared about her. It hurts so much, man. It hurts so much, bro. It really, really does. It's like even Kaido was like, man, this dude has poor taste, bro. Like, gosh, and then finding out the truth. I mean, the build up to getting to the eventual protection moment between Sanji and Zoro, it was fantastic, man. It was just done so well, because you wanted somebody not only to protect Toko, but to pwn Orochi. It was just so well done, man. So well done. I need to get off that. I need to get that off my chest, man. I've been marking out. I've been fanboying about the way this chapter has been written all day, bro. And the fact that Oda really went down the route of them not being able to smile and being robbed of that of that emotion, being able to being robbed of being able to grieve. And it's like, it just makes you, I mean, I really did. After reading that chapter, I just sat there and I thought about it, man. I was like, I just imagined myself in that situation, in Toko's situation. It honestly made me really, really sad. Like, can you imagine not being able to be sad or not being able to be mad when a situation like that comes up? And it's like, normally we want to be happy all the time. That's like the main thing that we try to strive for, is to be happy in life, right? But in order for one to feel happy, in order for one to feel something, there has to be something else on the other side. It's why days off from work the way they do, because we end up working whatever, man, 5, 6, 7 days, whatever your work schedule is, part timer, sometimes 4 days, whatever the case may be. But whenever you get your days off, they are your days off because of those days that you worked. If you have every day off, it's not going to feel the same as someone who has those days of work and those days off, because they try to take advantage of those days off as much as possible, because they know they have to go back to work. And it's the same thing whenever, going back to emotions. Whenever you have felt true pain and true sadness, you try to achieve that true happiness, man. And so you can't feel one without the other. And this chapter really made me appreciate the fact that I can actually feel sad. The fact that I can actually feel emotional when something like this takes place in my life, man. Because can you imagine not being able to cry? Or crying but not being able to grieve? You're laugh crying because your heart can't take it anymore, but you're laughing about it. Like, basically, in your mind, you're like stepping on their grave, pissing on their grave. And it's just, I had never seen a concept like that before, man. And Oda, to me, like, I've always considered him an absolute genius at doing stuff like this. But after this, I just said, wow, like, I really just took a step back. And I was like, wow. Like, how do you do that? How can you tell me that this man was penning down a statement back in Sabaody, came back and wrote an entire arc in Punk Hazard, an entire arc in Dressrosa, came back with Wano, and decided to reveal this now? He was patient about it. I'll tell you what, man. If I would have been in a situation, this is how I know that I'm still an amateur at heart when it comes to being a writer. I would have thrown in some more hints towards that in Punk Hazard, which wouldn't have worked for this twist because we would have already seen it coming all the way back then, because Oda knows when to foreshadow things and when not to foreshadow it, because he does it in certain ways, but not ways that are too obvious. Ways that whenever you see it, you're like, oh, Black Nards, it was in my face the whole time. And it's like, me in his situation, I would have gotten too impatient. I was too excited about the whole smile twist. I would have probably revealed some of the food stuff back whenever Momonosuke was really hungry at the end of the arc in Punk Hazard. I would have probably done a reveal some sort, and it's like, I learned from Oda, man, how to be patient, because things need to build up in order for it to explode in your mind and your heart and say, this is greatness. And Oda with a slow build up going up in. And I don't know how he does it, man. Like, I truly, I like, just studying the way this man writes, you gain appreciation for patience. You gain appreciation for all of this will pay off, and when it does, it's going to be amazing. And this is just a testament from that. This man has been building this up. Sabaody was written in 2008, guys. Punk Hazard was written in 2012. And you're like, man, dude. Massive appreciation. Massive appreciation, man. But all of that just coming together, you start despising Orochi. You want to get punched. You want to protect Otoko because you know the backstory of the smile. And all of that just comes together. And the fact that you had the journey with both Zoro and Sanji, so they both know the pain. You're hitting them both where it hurts. You're hitting Zoro where it hurts. You're hitting Sanji where it hurts with his food, man. Because this man Orochi's a sicko, bro. Using population control. So he's like, oh yeah, this is a paradise. This is heaven. You know what, man? These guys over here are starving. Let's give it to them. Let's give it to them. Why not? You know? And it's like, bro, let me go back to that page because it's gonna anger me whenever I look at it. This man states right here, Shinobu's right here saying, Orochi set his eyes on the faulty fruits. After all, the fruits were only bitten to once. Although they were failures, they still retained the side effects afterwards, which allowed for the creation of more pleasures. Deaths were a daily occurrence in the capital's leftover town, and thus so were the tears and grief. Orochi, who found all this very unpleasant, started mixing the faulty smiles into the capital's leftovers that were being thrown out. And it's like, bro, what a sicko, because he knows. I mean, me in that situation, I would have eaten it. No questions asked. When you're starving, you eat whatever, man. Especially when it's a fresh-looking apple, dog, and I love me some apples. I would have eaten it. I would have been screwed, because I love me some apples. No, man, this is an apple while it's still fresh. It's like, it felt like they were blessed. It felt like God himself sent this gift to them. And it's like, bro, and then they sort of proceeded to feed it to the sick first. What a line right here, man. This is what I call masterful dialogue. But in the end, the people of that leftover town could not win against their empty stomachs, bro. So that stuff hurts, man. In the following panel, Sanji feels the rage that you yourself feel as a reader, and you know that you can really resonate with Sanji because you know how Sanji feels about food. My man Sanji fed Don Krieg of all people and did not cheat him out of it. My man Sanji fed Big Mom without cheating her. When everyone else wanted to poison her, my man said no. When someone's hungry, I feed him and I feed him right. You know how pissed off that must have made Sanji? Man, dude. But once again, the genius build-up. And then, God, this heartbreaking scene right here, man. With Komurasaki pleading, so please do not blame those laughing people, dog. God, and then Toko pitting the body. Daddy, I brought you some really great... I'm gonna cry in this scene in the anime. I mean, I basically teared up while reading it in the manga, but... Because you know they're gonna add some OST, man. I mean, I want to tear up now thinking about it, but it hurts. Because you think of yourself in that situation, man. I'm being unable to cry in front of your father who just died. So you feel like you're oh my god, man. It pisses me off just thinking about it, bro. And I've already read this a few times. But let me go ahead and go through one of the first comments here that I received earlier. So I received this comment. Let me pull it up here. This is talking about the Komurasaki situation. And I love this comment because now, not only Komurasaki / Hiyori is already one of my favorite characters in this arc. This right here solidifies that. So David Russo says, I just realized that maybe Hiyori did not just buy Toko because of just plain mercy, but because she knew the child was Yasuo's daughter. Maybe not, but I think she knew him back in the day, so she somehow recognized him. He didn't want his child to suffer the same fate as the villagers, but in the end, Toko would have died of hunger, so he didn't have a choice but to feed her a smile fruit. So Hiyori bought her in order to give Yasu money to buy proper food for the villagers, so they weren't any more victims to the smile fruit. Even more, she didn't take the money from the rich guys because she was evil and loved the money. She did it in order to feed those who couldn't afford food. When I read that, I said, if that's the case, my heart, Hiyori, I mean, I already think she's a GOAT. Skyrocket immediately. God, man. And just, it's amazing how all of this paid off with Zoro protecting Toko, like, I gotcha. And Sanji going up in like somewhere too. They both had the same idea. Flipping flag nerds, man. And then here we have another comment right here. So this one is talking about whenever Toko comes in there with the medicine, which is the toad oil, right? So she says, please wake up, Daddy. This medicine will cure all of your wounds. It is called toad oil. And, you know, she's believing it from Usopp, because Usopp, of course, was the one that was selling this thing earlier. But this comment right here by Bruno Ferguson says, has anyone noticed the deal with the toad oil? How flipping awesome Oda links all these things, man. It was the fake oil Usopp was selling in chapter 909, but for me the cool thing is that we know the liar Usopp has never told a lie. So it's like, could the toad oil really be what could cure the side effects of the fruits? And bro, when I read that comment, my mind was blown. I was like, bro, can you imagine that toad oil is the only thing that actually gets rid of that side effect? That means that by the end of the arc, whenever something happens that, I don't know, Kaido gets dethroned, or Kaido gets pwned, or Orochi gets dethroned, and you have a collective cry between all the people of Wano saying that they're finally free and the borders open, and you see them all crying from every tooth, and you actually see them crying, man. But at the same time, those would be tears of joy. Like they would probably need to break down and actually grieve, or maybe they would be able to grieve for Tonoyasu, just like saying like, Tonoyasu, I wish you were here to see this, or something around those lines. So, man, dude. And then right here we have another comment right here. Now, I was going to touch upon this earlier, but then I started rambling on about the greatness of the chapter, and I apologize about that. But Demon Fox 369 says, in the flashback, was that Izzo, or is that supposed to be Kiku? So I went back and I reread the portion beginning a few times, and it looks like it is indeed the 9 red scabbards, but I don't know. Like, it really does appear to be, right? But I think it's Izzo. I do. And the reason for it is because of the one bang that's coming down. That's a characteristic that's very, very unique to Izzo. If it is Kiku, maybe. But for right now, it looks, I'm gonna be more on the side of it being Izzo. I really, really am. And then we have right here from, okay, so these next two, I have them kind of connected. So Monkey D. Sparrow says, do you think something happens to Zoro in chapter 944? Which is based on the color page theory that's been around for quite some time. And then my man Hazy says, my only question is, where do you see things going from here? All right. So those are kind of connected. So I'm going to answer them both the same way. It's kind of like a predictions for next chapter. Next week, initially, so I want to talk about what I thought before this chapter and what I think about after this chapter. So before this chapter came out, I thought that Zoro was going to be the one to do something to Orochi, thanks to this Tonoyasu stuff. It ended up being much better than that with Zoro and Sanji. But with that in mind, what I was anticipating was that 944 was going to be huge for Zoro in terms of whenever he would be face to face with the Shogun and the entirety of Wano was seeing this man's abilities, someone would probably bring up the fact that his moves are similar to something that they've seen before, or that his fighting style is something similar to what they've seen before. Now, and that would allude to one of two things. And I'm not talking about the three sword style. I'm talking about the way that, you know, whenever you've gone at it with somebody for a long time, and you see somebody else copy their style, or at least mimic their style, or learned under them, you see hints of that within their game, even though it's something different. It's sort of different. Like Zoro, he of course uses 3 swords, and nobody else in the series does that. But maybe somebody would say, I don't know, man, like I haven't seen something like that since Mihawk, or that boy probably learned under Koshiro. You know, that's as far as I go for that color page theory. I don't think, of course, I don't think Zoro's dying. And then as far as like him like getting his actual like true story and whatnot, I'm not sure about all that. But what I do know is that because of the revelation, or because of what we've been seeing in the past few chapters, we pretty much know that Koshiro's, at least the symbol that we saw back in the flashback, and from what we've seen, whenever he takes and goes to the school, it looks like that symbol all originated here from Wano. So with that being said, if there was anything that would become from Zoro in that chapter, it would be that. That's just from like a beyond what's happening perspective. And in terms of the actual chapter itself, I totally just see it, Zoro and Sanji having their moment that we've been waiting for them to have, where I'm pretty sure it's going to come up about the apology thing, about whether Sanji apologized or not. I think that's the conversation going to come up. And if it doesn't come up, I'll take it too, just because it's Zoro and Sanji, and they're probably going to be arguing the entire time while they're pointing everybody else, which would actually be hilarious. But I feel like if Oda decided to go down the comedic route, he would have to take it seriously eventually because of the build up to that moment. I feel like it would have to be comedic for the first, I don't know, 12 pages of the chapter, and then once it gets like the 13th page, and like almost everybody over here is wiped out, you see like Kaido running mad, like, yo, these two are destroying all my people, Orochi getting pwned, hopefully by both of them, and you see like all this ruckus going down after Zoro and Sanji have gone bananas, maybe even confrontation with Hawkins and Drake, who knows, but I definitely expect Zoro to pop that question of whether he apologized or not, and just on the overall situation, like calling him an idiot, like saying, do you realize the trouble that you put us in? The possible trouble that you put us in knowing that we were up against Kaido? And I wonder what Sanji is going to reply to that. Because Sanji owning up to that would be such an incredible moment for both characters. It would be incredible for Zoro for bringing it up, knowing the type of role that he has in the crew, and then for Sanji for actually owning up to it and not just saying, screw you, Moss Head, but actually owning up to that and saying, you know what, it was on me. If anything would have failed, it would have been on me. I think that would be such an amazing one for both characters, because I think Zoro would come to respect that, man. I really, really do. And if that were to be followed by another comedic moment, it would just show that Zoro respected that decision, or he respected the fact that he owned up to it. And so that's as far as I go for 744. And I also could see Act 2 either ending at the end of next chapter or 745 or 746. I see Act 2 ending pretty soon, though. And it's going to end on quite a big thing. Now, going to Hazi's question, and getting off of specifically just Zoro. Where do I see things going from here? I think that Kaido specifically Oda showcased Kaido watching what is going on and happening right now. Because, once again, it's being broadcasted to everybody. So everyone in Wano's seeing this that has access to it. So, with us knowing that Kaido's watching this, we know, or at least I think, that he wouldn't just stand still. If he's seeing people that he knows, some of his big heads, getting waxed. Alright? Now, listen, man. This is gonna. So, let me present 3 different scenarios. The first one being the obvious, because Drake and Hawkins are there. After Zoro and Sanji go in on the fodder, they attempt to go after Orochi, or maybe even they strike Orochi, and then Drake and Hawkins step in, or they don't step in, because I don't know. I don't know if they want to step in. But because maybe because they know that Kaido's watching and they want to continue playing this part, because I still believe that they're just playing the part and the role of just being under Kaido. So they would possibly clash against Zoro and Sanji. I'm not sure if it would turn into an actual full-out brawl, but hell, I would love to see it. It would be a really cool clash. So we could go down that route. Or I could go down the other route I just said. They don't clash, or they just do a miniature clash. Like, not a full-on clash, but a miniature clash. They instead continue on. A big ruckus is happening, so there's like a huge uproar. And now Kaido's attention is completely 100% on what's happening here. He might send someone, I don't think he'll send King, but he might send, more of his big guys over there to take care of the situation. Or he might call up Drake and Hawkins and be like, yo, take care of these 2 dudes. So Kaido's attention will be 100% on what is happening on screen, because he wants the job to be taken care of. This could be like whenever you're like the head supervisor and you're like saying, okay, man, I'm thinking about promoting these 2 guys, thinking about Drake and Hawkins. Let's see how they do against these 2, because obviously these 2 are mad. They're making a ruckus. Let's hope that they take care of it. Just let them prove their loyalty or something like that, right? So Kaido could watch them go about that, and since Kaido knows, or we know that Kaido respects strength, he might even tell them, don't kill them, just make sure they're knocked out, and then we'll recruit them. We'll try to recruit them over for our crew, even though I highly doubt 100. There is no way, after the way this chapter ended, there is no way that Zoro and Sanji are taking else. There's no way. But so that's why I think it's just going to end up being a clash, because I don't see Drake and Hawkins turning against Kaido right now. So then they'll like leave it off in a clash and continue on. But anyways, throughout the entire thing, Kaido is going to be 100%. Is undivided attention is going to be on Orochi and what is going down here with Zoro, Sanji, and this entire situation. So while that's going down, at the same exact time, Big Mom is going to be arriving at Udon. So when Big Mom arrives at Udon, and if anything goes down with Queen, or if Big Mom goes on a rampage, or if Luffy and Hyogoro and the rest of the prisoners escape out of prison, that information is going to reach Kaido late. Because if Big Mom ends up knocking all of them out, and because all of them are watching this broadcast and they're all distracted by this broadcast, Act 2 could end, realistically, with Luffy escaping, and on the other side with what's going down on in the Flower Capital, with that coming to its climax, with like something major happening on that end as well. Which is something that I've been trying to think about. Like, what is something that can match in the very same end act chapter? What is something that can match Luffy escaping with Big Mom, right? So, or whatever's gonna happen there, because we don't even know if they're gonna leave together. If Luffy sees Big Mom's memories could come back. You feel me? So I don't even know if they're gonna end up meeting each other. Like, Big Mom could go in there and do a massive, or just trying to find her food, go in on a rampage, and then Hyogoro and Luffy end up going the other way. I don't know, man. And then Kid. What's gonna happen with Kid? Are we gonna see Kid at the end of Act 2? Like, his plan coming and succeeding? He tells Straw Hat, come with me. And then they escape. Like, the plan finally worked or whatever. And then on the other side, or Kid could show up over there in the Flower Capital. I didn't even think about that. But why? He probably wouldn't do that. He probably wouldn't do that because why would he expose himself after already being imprisoned? So that was probably a stupid thought. But still, man, just so many different possibilities. But I definitely do think Oda's going to use this opportunity, because he already did in this chapter, to go back and forth between Udon and the Flower Capital until we hit some sort of, okay, now things are starting to come together, and Act 2 ends in a bang. Because it's already going to end in a bang, 110%. But I've been trying to collect in my head, how in the Flying Flagnards is the Flower Capital stuff going to end? Because there's a whole bunch of dudes there, and I don't see any of them, stopping Sanji and Zoro on this rampage. Aside from Dragon Hawkins putting up some sort of a fight, and even if they were to hop in, I still see Zoro and Sanji catching the dub because they're pissed off. And you got to keep them strong going into Onigashima. So that would have to end in a no contest. But it would just be so cool to see them go at it, man, in a tag team match. Man, dude. I just want to know what happens, man. Like, I want to know where, because now everyone's, of course, people are already rebelling against Orochi. After what just happened, the entirety of Wano knows the truth. They're going to, or not the complete truth, but they released what Yasu told them, and they believe him. So Yasu was a hero of the people. So they're going to be rebelling 100%, man. So the way, or whatever we're doing to dive into Act 2, that final sequence is going to take us directly into is going to take us right into Onigashima. But before we get into Onigashima, we have to get the Oden flashback, because Oda has been on the way. And before we get the Oden flashback, Oda said that a big event in the Reverie is going to end up coinciding and is going to be affecting the Wano plot. So it makes me believe that we're going to have to go back to the Reverie one more time, or at the very least see the after effects of it, in the same way that we saw 925 with Blackbeard. We have to do one more Around the World chapter before we come back for Act 3. We have to, just based off of Oda's notes. So it's just so many things in mind, man. So many possibilities, so many great things that come out of this. I honestly, just because of the way the Queen is, I really wanted to see, at the very least, a fun little matchup between Luffy and Queen. Just because Queen continues to see Luffy and grow and grow and continue to foderize all of those soldiers, man, and the guards. So like I've just left for Queen to just step in and say, man, it's my turn. That would be so cool. But with the Big Mom situation, we just don't know when she's gonna pop up in. And then when that gets in, there's different possibilities with that as well. Like we don't know if Luffy and Big Mom will meet, and if they do meet, what happens then? What happens if somebody says, "Hey, Luffy's the one that ate all your stuff, ate all your food"? You feel me? Like who knows? I don't know. I don't know, man. We'll have to see. It's gonna be interesting. I cannot wait to see what's gonna go down here with Zoro and Sanji, though, man, because I always love when the Straw Hats are mad, for the right reasons, of course. Like the walks to Frankie House, such a legendary moment. And I always think back to that as like a key snare. Like, yeah, man, when the Straw Hats get blown, bro, they go in like somewhere. And Zoro and Sanji are really, really mad right now. So anybody getting in their way right now is getting pwned. But I do wonder. I want to see how Hawkins and Drake act. Because if they decide to take action, that's going to be interesting. Specifically because it's being broadcasted. And then because they're there, will Orochi will escape? Because Orochi's a prideful dude. You know? And I mean, he's a coward, but he still has, like, when somebody does something to go against his authority, he wants to kill him. So is he going to try to shoot Sanji and Zoro? If that's the case, this man's about to get waxed. But I don't know how Oda's going to handle it, man. But I'm super excited to find out. So many different possibilities, so many things that can go down, and I can't wait, man. It's gonna be so fun. These next couple of weeks of One Piece is gonna be awesome. So I was like, until we reach the end of Act 2, we're just gonna continue escalating this amazing plot line. I had been saying it for weeks, man. If y'all have been with me, you know. I continued to tell you, I was like, yo, this whole funeral is gonna be something huge. I did not expect this, though, man. We've learned so much. And the fact that Komodosaki has returned to the scene of the flipping crime. Right? I mean, she's supposed to be dead. What happens if somebody discovers her? I don't know, man. Super fascinating, super interesting stuff. But I can't wait to see Zoro and Sanji go ham next week. It's gonna be so good. But what an amazing chapter this week. The very fact that we can come up with all these different scenarios based off of how good this week's chapter was and how amazing the cliffhanger was to where we can speculate like this is extremely dope, man. But I know Act 2 is going to continue to put out a banger. The climax is going to be absolutely incredible. So many different possibilities. And like I said before, after Act 2, because I doubt Act 3 will finish before the end of the year, we have to get that final piece of the Reverie puzzle that's going to be leading us into Onigashima. Or unless Oda decides to keep it a secret from us, and we find out randomly in the middle of Onigashima about this massive event in the Reverie, man. Because it would have taken place a couple weeks after Reverie. So if some random character from there pops up, it'll make so much sense. And then if they pop up and they see something crazy to Luffy, bro, or to any of the characters, they're like, well, what will they do? But because Oda said specifically that it's going to be an event up there that affects Wano, that's what has me so interested in that event. And then, of course, the Odin flashback, which is what I've been waiting for, and we continue to get more insight into it. So I know when we actually get it, it's going to be on the Nolan Calgara level greatness. I'm going to be so emotional reading that Odin flashback, man. And I just want to know more about his character and just see more from him, man, because he seems like such a great dude. And every insight we get into him, I like him even more. So I can't wait, man. I can't wait. Especially after Toriyasu's last words. But yeah, man. This has been my ramble. My ramble for this chapter, for this amazing, incredible, awesome sauce, Sand Hat level plus of a chapter. So good, man. I hope all of you have an awesome sauce every day. Let me know your theories and comments down below. This was just me spitting off the top of my head and answering certain questions, showing appreciation. Thanks to everybody who commented. I apologize that once again if I didn't get to certain individuals' comments, but to the comments that I did get to. Thank you very much for providing that discussion right there. And this was a lot of fun, man. Just being able to come on here, because I needed to get all that off my chest, bro. I really did. After this amazing chapter, in fact, I've been thinking about it all day, finally had some time to myself, and I said, I gotta sit down and talk about One Piece, man. I do. I really, really did. So, thank you for watching. Everybody stay blessed. One Piece flipping greatness. And I will see y'all next time. Tomorrow, a new episode comes out, so I'll definitely be reacting to that, man. So, well, I think by the time this uploads, it'll be tomorrow anyway, so. Because it takes millions of years now to upload my videos. But regardless, man, I hope everybody has a great one. Stay blessed. One Piece greatness. Zoro, Judo, and Sangoro. Awesome. So I'm telling you, man, that panel was godly, man.